What's up guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you're doing good. In this video, I want to talk about something that I'm sure lots of you out there want to know. Is Mistlands good? The short answer is yes. I think this update is absolutely awesome, but I want to jump into it in more detail and go over some finer points while showing off some of my favorite things about it so far. So let's jump into it. Okay, so before I start jumping into a bunch of different topics, I want to make one thing very clear, which is that I do actually eventually plan on doing an in-depth review of Mistlands, where I give my final thoughts on the update. However, I want to wait until it's out on the live branch, just in case any changes are made. And as someone who's mostly focused on speedruns and challenges, I want some more time to play through it casually, to give it the most fair shake, to give you guys my final thoughts. And I did already give you guys my first impressions a few days ago, but I just thought that instead of waiting until my final review to give you guys all my thoughts, this video could act as sort of a midpoint between first impressions and the review, so I can tell you what I think after spending quite a lot more time with Mistlands. And yeah, shout out to this emote by the way. Okay, so the biome. I want to talk about how awesome the design of this place actually is. Just from a visual standpoint, everything looks flipping awesome. The art style of the architecture, sometimes you just catch a piece of scenery at the right angle and it's like a work of art. It's absolutely incredible. And as for where the biome fits in with all the other ones, I gotta say, the sheer scale and epicness of all these cliffs and the massive detail in this update do really just make Mistlands feel super special whenever you encounter them out in the wild on a survival playthrough. There's just something about it. I instantly dove into Mistlands using all the commands and debug mode and stuff when it came out, but after actually encountering them naturally on a real run, I gotta say, it just fills you with a sense of wonder and adventure, and stepping into them for real is just something that just had me smiling every single time I dove deeper. Okay, so now I want to talk about the dwarves. Encountering the dwarves for the first time on a real run is something that I felt was truly magical. There's just something about these goofy little guys and the way they greet you, the way they sort of shuffle around the map, and obviously also how epic the structures are. So far, I'm just not getting bored at finding these. Even though there's not a ton of variation in these structures, they are so detailed and awesome to look at. And there's something really cool about the addition of these NPCs that really makes the Valheim world start to feel alive in a way that I honestly didn't anticipate. I don't know what's happening here. Do they think my character just has candy or something? Alright, let's discuss some of the mobs a little bit. The mobs in this update are completely insane. For a long time, people expected there to be spiders in Mistlands, which I was personally not against. However, what we've ended up with is something much more unique. I didn't know what to make of the Seekers at first, but after seeing them a ton in action and getting munched by them so many times, I actually now love them. The animations are almost what makes it for me. The AI behavior is super impressive. They'll really hunt you down. And the variety of mobs in this biome is actually completely insane. And that's one of the things that makes it so compelling and so much more interesting than some of the other biomes in the game. The variety and the detail just make it feel teeming with life. Okay, so the difficulty is something that really needs to be addressed. I feel that I may have added to this by stressing the difficulty in my first impressions video. So I want to kind of set the record straight. And I think the best way to do that is to clear a dungeon. So I'm going to pop my ability. We're going to get some rested and we're going to clear this dungeon. Alright, we're going to drop in Batman style with this awesome new cape. Alright. So, for most of my testing, oh, don't die. I'm actually not using cheats for this moment. Holy sh**. Let's glide down here real quick. Let's pop this. This potion is actually super useful, by the way. Tasty Meads, super underrated potion also. Yeah, so in my previous videos, one detail that I did not discuss is actually the fact that I was running around with a character that had low level skills all around. And I also didn't really mess around with bows so much. It's actually super clear from all my testing that the elemental damage from poison, fire, or frost does normal damage to most, if not all, of the enemies in this biome. There's only a couple of them that are immune to some of it, but none of them are immune to all of the elemental stuff. And if you have max level bow skill, or at least just high level bow skill, and a powerful bow, and you combine that with these arrows, you actually do melt most mobs. I like to use something with fast DPS to tackle the smaller mobs. The new dual wield daggers are really good for this. But then for seekers and stuff like this guy, I get one poison, one fire, one poison, one fire. So we get both tick damages at the same time. And actually we completely melt them. And you have to remember, or I guess I should have remembered, that getting to this part of the game requires a lot of grinding. On a normal playthrough at least, players will have invested in the character a lot. And so they probably will have high level skills by the time they get here. And if you focus on elemental stuff and you play a little bit more cautiously, with high skills, it's really not as much of a big deal as it's been made out to be. Look, I've never even fought a 2-star yet. Let's see if this proves my point or not. I'm going to switch between all my elementals. We're slowing down a bit with this one even. Okay, melted with that one. Yes, I'm taking damage from this tick now. We took down that 2-star so easily. Alright, you're right. I'm taking damage, but boom. Pop some of these potions. Pop some of these potions. Oh no. This isn't good. Need to do this. We need to do this. Oh, it's not looking good. I am in danger. Let's back up. Go back to the start. Pop another tasty. Now we're going to resort to magic a little bit. Alright. Oh yeah, something else worth mentioning. Summoning these skeletons is actually really helpful. They do actually take quite a lot of aggro off you. This is actually a loadout I've been really enjoying. The only motivation between all this stuff, guys, is purely just what's the most fun for me. I don't want to go on too long on this part of the video, but I'll quickly summarize it. I take this shield instead of a buckler because the mobs do a lot more damage now in this biome. So I want the extra block power. Bow, we've kind of already discussed why. The frost damage seems equally as effective as fire in most cases, to be honest. It's more of a DPS damage style in terms of its lower damage but a higher rate. And the fire does more single shot damage. And I like being able to just do something quickly. The Skull and Hattie, super good. For them smaller enemies. The fast attack speed. Mistwalker is just a cool sword to use with the shield. And I use the Demolisher for some damage control through walls. And then all the elementals for the reason I stated before. Tasty Mead. Always recommend Tasty Mead to restore stamina quicker when your potions are on cooldown. Health potions, magic potions. Then this thing to summon these guys to help us. And I have 1 stamina food, 1 health food, and 1 magic food. Alright, some smaller enemies again. Showing how good the DPS stuff is here. The ticks is just a bit of an issue because of the jump. We can always just shoot them. And then, yeah, like I said, the Demolisher. You can do damage through walls with this. Just like the Stab Breaker. Okay, so I think I've proven my point so far, but I just wanted to drive it home by fighting a soldier. I'm gonna use the same strat with elemental damage, but this time using the weak spot. Turns out the yellow spot on the back of this thing actually is a weak spot. See, it goes yellow damage there. So people have been asking about weaknesses to these mobs. So far, there's only stuff that does normal damage. Except with the soldier and the Jarl, they have weak spots. The Jarl is just its underbelly. But even without doing those higher damage hits, it still gets kind of melted if you double up on the status effects. See? The last thing I wanted to say about difficulty is I know there's going to be some people that say, oh well, you've just got max level gear and you've leveled up your character to do this video. Yes, but you should be pretty close to that anyway for doing endgame content. And also just look how easy all of this was. Even if it's twice as hard, it's still not that crazy and actually perfectly manageable for most players. And in my personal opinion, on a full playthrough, once you know what weapons to go for and what your strats are, the difficulty of Mistlands is obviously a bump up compared to Plains, but it's not that crazy. And in terms of a normal difficulty curve in a video game, for sure not really anything out of the ordinary. I think this is actually well designed. I also just wanted to talk about the gear selection. Now with the addition of some magic items, some new potions, some cool new weapons like the Demolisher, I feel like we just have even more variety and even more choice. And every single piece of gear looks super cool. And I just feel like people are bound to find something that fits their playstyle. And after some experimenting, like I said, I've now found this cool selection of items that I personally love to use. And what's most fun to me is just mixing and matching. Without a doubt, things like the Feather Cape and the Dead Razor, along with some of the other magic items, make the Mistlands gear some of the coolest in the game by far. And that makes the area exciting. And it makes it exciting to craft new stuff, which is what these games should all be about. The food has some really good new options. Obviously, one of the coolest twists with the food being the magic foods. The food system in Valheim is so interesting anyway, how it affects gameplay mechanics. The fact that there's actually pretty complicated food recipes that are required to cook to even be able to cast magic is something so unique and interesting. And the quality across the board of the update is incredible. It feels super polished. The only things that don't feel totally polished yet are the occasional FPS hitches, FPS drops when encountering the smaller mobs in dungeons. And by the way, if you're not encountering those two things, the FPS is actually completely fine. It's just in those specific scenarios. That and the fact that you can't seem to pick up fish that flop out of the water are the only issues I've encountered. And to be honest, I have full faith that Iron Gate will fix these things before it leaves the test branch, because at the end of the day, this is still just supposed to be in testing. Oh yeah, and there is one last small thing that seriously probably doesn't affect anyone except for me and like the 2 or 3 other people that speedrun this game seriously. But since a couple of people from Iron Gate have reminded me recently that they do actually watch my content, I wanted to selfishly bring this up just for the sake of speedrunners. But these benches can't be deconstructed. The tables get deconstructed just fine, but these benches don't. They just kind of bug out and float there, and you can't get the fine one. This is something that was in the main game a while ago, but in the current patch on the live branch that I was on before I upgraded to Mistlands, this did actually work. But in the Mistlands patch, it's actually broke again. So I don't know what that's about, but not a big deal. But I just used this for the speedrun to get some extra fine wood, which is super important. And so this doesn't really stress me out. I don't think it's a big deal, but a bit of a minor inconvenience that I wanted to bring up. So to summarize, yes, I think Mistlands is good. I think it's completely freaking awesome. I do want to just remind you of the disclaimer that this isn't my final opinion. I do want to do a full review after spending much more time with it, and once it's out on the live branch, so they've had time to fix a few things, and I've just spent a lot more time with it casually rather than just speedrunning and challenges. But my initial impression I got from my first impressions video still holds. I think this update is amazing, and yes, it remains one of my favorite updates to any game ever. But we'll see if that changes. But that's just about going to do it for this video today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and a nice positive comment for the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe for future content. I do stream live on Twitch and live on this very YouTube channel, so I'll leave a link in the description to my Twitch if you're interested in that. Everything I do here is completely crowdfunded, so if you'd like to help keep the dream alive, then you can do so on Patreon at patreon.com/NickRawcliffe. You can follow me on social media and join my Discord at the links below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, have a good one.